Bullies tore the new teacher's shirt at roll call. Minutes later, they were begging for forgiveness. Roll call starts with a crack of noise that dies too fast. A sleeve is yanked, a rip snaps the air, a sneer slices through it all with, "A nice shirt." The class gasps, whispers swarm, phones rise. Power tilts in one breath as the new teacher freezes, trapped between laughter and blame. And no one saw what was coming next. A student lifts the torn fabric like a prize, holding it high as jeers rise around him. Someone's gasp cuts through the noise, sharp enough to sting. Laughter spreads in the back row, low at first, then louder as fingers point and heads turn. The room tightens. The new teacher stands still, breath caught in her chest, unsure where to look. A senior kid smirks, leaning back like he owns the moment. An older teacher passing by laughs under his breath, and the blame tilts toward her without a single word. She tries to step forward, but the adult waves a hand and says, "Sort it out," loud enough for the class to hear. Her face burns. The class watches her freeze, caught between humiliation and command, and no one saw what was coming next. Phones slide up. Screens glow under desks. A hand films the torn shoulder. Heads lean in. Rumors hum like electricity in the air. She opens her mouth, trying to speak, but the words break small and weak. A laugh cuts her off. Someone whispers, "She shouldn't be here," and a ripple of agreement moves through the rows like a quiet punch. Silence thickens. Eyes sharpen. Someone else mutters, a look at her. She's scared. No one stops them, no one questions it. The room feels colder with every whisper, and no one saw what was coming next. At the back, the quiet ally watches everything. His fist tightens against his leg. His breath slows. He remembers moments like this, moments he couldn't fight then. He watches the torn shirt. He watches the crowd lean away from her. He watches the adults look anywhere but the truth. The class shifts, sensing something in him, waiting for someone, anyone, to move. A hush crawls over the room, uncomfortable and tight. For the first time, a few students look unsure. They glance at the bully. They glance at the teacher. They glance at the quiet boy whose eyes never leave the scene. The air holds still. His jaw sets. A choice forms in the space between breaths. Students lean forward, sensing a change they can't name. The bully notices the eyes drifting his way and straightens with a glare. The teacher stands frozen, caught between fear and hope. The room feels like it's tilting, like one word could flip the balance. Every heartbeat seems louder than the last. Someone would break the silence, but who? She is new to the school, walking in with quiet steps and careful hope, and students read that softness as weakness the second she enters. She came here to teach, not to fight, carrying lessons planned with calm patience, never expecting a room where whispers follow faster than greetings. On her first day, she offered a small smile that a few kids returned, but even that brightness now hides behind tightened shoulders and slow breath. She moves gently, placing books down without noise, speaking in a steady tone that tries to hold the class together, even when the class works to pull her apart. Some students saw her kindness and mistook it for fear, testing her with side comments, sharp giggles, and long stares meant to shake her confidence. She tries to stay steady, correcting with a soft voice that the clique twists into something to mock. She is underestimated by almost everyone, including the adults who should stand beside her, but instead look away when trouble starts. She is human in every step, trying to prove she belongs here, trying to teach in a place that keeps daring her to quit. She would be tested faster than she expected. A group rules the back row with practiced confidence, slipping into their seats like they own the building. They talk loud on purpose, laughing in short bursts that sound more like warnings than jokes. Their eyes track every move the new teacher makes, waiting for slips, waiting for weakness. The leader sits in the middle, tapping a pencil like a threat, steady and slow, daring anyone to challenge the rhythm. His friends lean in close, whispering lines meant to sting, lines meant to spread. They test boundaries with smirks, waiting for reactions they can twist into entertainment. When the teacher looks their way, they grin wider, knowing she sees them but can't stop them. They feed off nervous energy, off the way other students shift in their seats or stare at their desks when the clique gets loud. They enjoy the small flinches they cause, the gasps, the silence that follows their comments. Every day they try something new, small at first, then sharper, then cruel enough to make the room go still. Their leader loves being noticed, loves how everyone watches him, loves how fear gives him the spotlight he believes he deserves. They would not stop at a ripped shirt. Another teacher, old and respected, walks the halls with a calm smile that hides how quickly he chooses sides. He sees the jokes land. He hears the sharp comments. He watches the new teacher freeze for a second too long, and instead of stepping in, he lets the moment pass like it means nothing. When the clique laughs, he smiles with them, a quiet nod that tells the room who he believes. He speaks to the new teacher in soft tones that feel heavy, saying things like let them be kids, as if cruelty is normal, as if she is the problem for reacting at all. Students catch the way his eyes shift past her, never toward her. They notice how he shrugs when trouble starts, giving permission without ever saying the words. His presence teaches the class more powerfully than any rule. If the adults don't care, then the cruelty is allowed. When she tries to set boundaries, his raised eyebrow makes her hesitate. When she seeks support, his calm voice turns blame back onto her shoulders. He protects the clique with silence, shields them by pretending not to see, and every student learns the lesson he never speaks aloud. The real test was the adults. Many students whisper from the edges, caught between curiosity and fear, watching the new teacher move like she's walking on thin ice. Some glance up when the clique acts out, then look down fast, pretending they saw nothing. A few giggle to fit in, their laughter shaky, hoping the bully's eyes never land on them. Others hide behind raised notebooks or lowered heads, shrinking into themselves so they won't be noticed. The front row stays quiet, stiff with worry, knowing how fast things can turn. A girl sinks low in her seat, hands tight, remembering other teachers who never lasted long. Near the back, the quiet ally keeps his gaze steady, counting every wrong move, every whispered insult, every time someone looks away instead of speaking. He keeps a silent record in his head, one no one else knows about. Students move in invisible groups, following unwritten rules, stay close to power, stay far from danger, stay silent so the trouble doesn't shift directions. Rumors drift across desks like smoke, carrying half-truths and guesses that grow sharper with each retelling. The room feels split, those who watch, those who laugh, and those who pretend not to see it all. One small plan would grow into something bigger. She writes one simple word on the board, her hands steady but her shoulders tight, and the back row answers with a rising snicker. It starts small, then grows louder as a bully shouts a wrong answer on purpose, dragging every eye toward her. The class cracks with laughter, desks shaking, pencils tapping in rhythm with cruelty. She corrects him gently, trying to hold the room together, but he repeats her words in a mocking tone that twists calm into shame. His voice climbs higher, exaggerating every sound until a ripple of giggles moves across the desks like a wave she can't stop. A student whispers she doesn't know anything, and others nod too quickly, eager to stay on the safe side of attention. She tries again with a steady tone, but he cuts her off with, "Did you even read it?" and heads snap toward her, waiting for her reaction like it's part of the show. The older teacher strolls past the door, sees the chaos, smiles, and keeps walking, and the class watches his approval bloom like fuel on fire. Someone claps sarcastically. Another bangs lightly on a desk. The noise swells around her, drowning out her attempts to regain control. She asks for quiet, voice soft but firm, and the bully stands, offering a dramatic bow that earns a loud cheer. A girl in the front winces, eyes lowered, hands tight around her pencil, wishing someone would stop him but too scared to move. The quiet ally watches every second, jaw locked, breathing tight, his silence carrying more weight than any shouted joke. Phones appear under desks, tilting just enough to catch her shaking hand, and she tries not to look at the screens. The bully tosses out one more insult. She doesn't get it. And the room roars with him, feeding off the cruelty. She stops speaking, and the sudden hush feels dangerous, like the room itself is waiting to see if she breaks. One last mocking line lands, louder, meaner, unforgiving, and her patience would be weaponized. She bends to pick up a dropped paper in the hall, moving quietly, trying to stay unnoticed, when footsteps close in behind her, and the corridor tightens with expectation. The bully points at her instantly and yells, "She took it!" loud enough to snap every head in his direction. Another student backs him up without hesitation, spitting out, "I saw her grab it," even though nothing happened, and whispers spread like smoke rolling across lockers. She tries to explain, but another voice cuts through hers, louder, sharper, and adults hurry over, pulled by noise instead of truth. The older teacher arrives first, arms crossed, eyes already judging her before she can speak, and she feels the blame sliding toward her like a trap. Give it back, the bully demands, even though her hands are empty, and the hall stiffens with silent spectators who don't dare challenge the lie. She repeats, "I didn't take anything." But her calm tone is twisted into guilt as students exchange looks that grow darker with each passing second. The older teacher asks for the item anyway, even though no one has proof, and she feels the corner closing around her. A whisper drifts from someone hidden in the crowd. She's lying, and the rumor rolls down the hallway, sticking to anyone who hears it. Another kid opens his backpack wide, pretending to check if she planted something, earning a few cruel laughs from students, hoping to stay on the bully's good side. She steps back, stunned, while the bully steps forward with a slow, satisfied smirk, the power imbalance sharpening with every breath. "You took it, didn't you?" He repeats, louder and slower, and a small circle begins to form around her as curious faces lean in. One student tries to speak for her, voice small and trembling, but the bully snaps a "stay out of it," and the allies' words die out before they can help. The older teacher sighs loudly, muttering, "This is getting old," and the crowd tilts toward his impatience. She says one last time, "I did not take anything," but no one listens, and someone began whispering about her honesty. The class settles for the test with pencils ready and eyes down, the room holding a heavy tension that presses on every desk. She hands out papers quietly, moving between rows with careful steps, while the bully watches her every move like he's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He raises his hand halfway, then suddenly shouts, "She gave me answers," and the room snaps upward in shock, pencils freezing mid-sentence. Students stare at her with wide eyes as whispers explode across the row. She murmurs, "I didn't." But the bully talks over her instantly, stealing the room with his louder voice. "She slipped me hints," he claims, waving his blank paper as if it proves something, and gasps ripple across the front row like a chain reaction. Another student joins in with cruel confidence, announcing, "She told me too," even though he never spoke to her once, and a shaky silence follows as doubt fills the space. She tries to calm the class, but her words crash against rising laughter, and the noise spreads like fire eating through control. A kid stands up and points at her with quick, eager blame. "This test is rigged," and others nod too fast, desperate not to be the ones targeted next. The bully folds his arms like a wronged hero, acting brave and injured, and the lie grows legs tall enough to stand on its own. The older teacher steps inside at the worst moment, hearing only the shouting, and his stern expression lands on her instead of the chaos behind him. "What did you tell them?" he asks, ignoring every denial she tries to offer, and the room leans into the accusation. Students stop writing completely, papers untouched and pencils still, waiting for a verdict that feels already chosen. Someone whispers to the hallway, "We have a problem," and the principal is called without hearing a single truth. Moments later, the test is cancelled on the spot, ripped from her hands by the mounting fear around her, and the bully smirks with quiet victory as tension swallows the room, and her name would spread like a stain. She is called to the office with slow, uncertain steps, students watching her pass with wide eyes and hushed whispers that follow like shadows, and the hallway falls into a tight silence. The principal waits with folded hands, the older teacher standing beside him like a wall already built against her. There were reports, the principal says before she can form a single word, and her voice dies in her throat. The older teacher adds, "We must protect kids," his tone firm and eyes cold, tilting the room against her before truth even arrives. She tries to explain the chaos, tries to describe what really happened during the test, but the principal interrupts quickly, his expression already set. The bully's story is repeated as fact. She influenced the test, he claims from a written note she never saw, and her heartbeat pounds in painful bursts. She says, "That's not true," holding her ground as best she can, but the older teacher shakes his head slowly, disappointed, and the principal mirrors the disappointment without question. A stack of her complaints appears on the desk, half-written notes and vague comments that mean nothing but look official enough to hurt, and she knows none of them reflect reality. "We can't ignore this," the principal says, loud enough for anyone outside the door to hear, and her cheeks burn with humiliation she can't stop. A formal warning is issued next. A paper slid across the desk like a sentence already decided, and she feels the trap closing around her. The older teacher suggests a sensitivity training, pretending to guide her while pushing the blame deeper onto her shoulders. She asks, "What about the students?" But both men avoid the question with a silence that feels like a verdict. When she leaves the office, teenagers stare from every angle, watching her trembling hands and swallowing their own fear of being next. In the hallway behind her, the bully high-fives his friend, their victory loud and bright enough to echo. No adult stops them. No student challenges it. Only the quiet ally sees her shaken face as she passes, fists curling with helpless anger, and punishment had found its target. She walks into gym class slowly, each step watched by eyes that follow her like drifting spotlights, and the air feels dangerous before anything even starts. The bully circles behind her with loud, heavy footsteps, fake laughter echoing just enough to draw a crowd's attention. He bumps her shoulder hard, knocking papers from her hands as sneakers skid across the floor, and a sharp gasp cuts through the gym. "Watch it," he says with a grin, twisting the moment as if she was the one who stepped into him, and the students lean in closer, hungry for the show. Another student joins in, repeating the bump, but harder this time, sending her stumbling as whispers rise like smoke. She bends to pick up her fallen things, reaching carefully, when a sneaker slides in front of her hand, blocking her from grabbing even a single paper. She freezes mid-reach. "A move," she says softly, but the hostile kid laughs in her face and her breath catches in her throat. The bully taps her desk later with slow, taunting fingers as if claiming the space, and students pretend not to look, pretending not to hear, pretending not to know. They circle her like sharks, walking laps around her chair with slow, cruel intention, and every step tightens the room into something sharp. A girl whispers, "This is too much," but fear pulls her eyes away before the words can grow into action. The older teacher sees the circling from across the gym and gives a lazy shrug, letting the moment twist darker as the bullies grow bolder. One kid flicks her pen off the desk, sending it skidding across the floor, and laughter spikes again, loud and eager. She reaches for the pen, but the bully steps on it first, crushing it under his heel, and she pulls her hand back quickly, the room buzzing around her. Back off. The quiet ally finally mutters, voice low but steady enough to make the gym freeze. The bully turns toward him slowly, smile fading into something colder, the circle widening as students step back to watch what comes next, and the ally had reached his limit. The gym goes still, every sound dying at once as eyes shift from the bully to the quiet boy, the one no one ever expected to speak, and the room holds its breath like it's bracing for impact. The bully steps closer to him with slow, heavy strides, chest out, voice low, daring him to repeat the challenge he just whispered. No one dares to speak. No one even blinks. The ally lifts his chin just enough and says, "That's not fair." Soft and shaking, but louder than fear, and the crowd stiffens with a tension that snaps tight across the floor. A few students glance at each other, guilt rising in their faces, but courage still buried too deep to reach, and the silence thickens. The bully lets out a sharp laugh, mocking him with, "You a hero now?" letting the word hang heavy enough to bruise. Another student joins in, shouting, "A snitch!" loud enough for echoes to bounce back from the walls, and several kids flinch at the sound. The teacher steps forward, trying to calm things with hands raised halfway, but the bully talks over him easily, slicing through authority like it isn't even there. She steps between them slightly, not blocking, just enough to create a thin line of protection, her hands trembling but her voice firm as she says nothing more than a quiet breath. The bully's jaw tightens, eyes narrowing as he takes a step closer. The ally says, "Stop it again." Louder this time, eyes locked forward even as his fists tremble at his sides, and murmurs ripple across the watching crowd. A student at the edge lifts a phone and starts recording, hands shaking, breath uneven, capturing every second as proof begins to grow in silence. The bully shoves the ally back a small step, and gasps burst from the crowd in one sharp wave, the sneer on his face carving the moment into something darker. The ally steps forward again, stronger this time, refusing to back down, and the class feels the balance shift by inches. Down the hall, the principal's heels echo steadily, a distant rhythm growing louder with every second, and a few students exchange looks filled with sudden fear. Someone whispers, "He's in trouble now," but no one knows if they meant the bully or the ally. Tension spikes to breaking. The ally stands firm beside the teacher, two quiet voices finally challenging one loud bully, and a single voice had started a chain. The class gathers for the assembly with a low hum that dies the moment she walks in. Eyes follow her to the front, phones already sliding into position before a single word is spoken. The bully stands near the stage with a grin that looks rehearsed, like he's been waiting for this crowd. The older teacher sits smug in the corner, arms folded, watching like the outcome is already carved in stone. Students shift in their seats, unsure, uneasy, sensing something ugly settling over the room. The principal scans the crowd, unaware of the storm building in the back row. The bully whispers to his friends with a smirk sharp enough to cut through the silence. "What's this?" he murmurs, and the clique leans forward, ready to enjoy every second of what comes next. And they wanted an audience. An audience. The bully steps forward proudly, holding the torn shirt high like a trophy that proves his twisted story. A shockwave moves through the room as students lean closer, caught between curiosity and dread. She faked it, he shouts, targeting her trembling hands as they tighten at her sides, and laughter cracks through the chairs like thunder. A student joins him instantly, raising his phone and saying, "She cried on purpose," feeding the crowd the drama it wants. Phones zoom in, screens glow. The room waits for the next blow. She tries to speak, her voice breaking before it finds strength, but the noise swallows her. The bully circles her slowly, loud enough for the whole school to hear, dragging out every word as if performing for a stage. "It's all an act," he says, shaking the torn fabric above his head. A wave of whispers rolls across the students, unsure what to believe, unsure whether to look at her or the boy pretending to be the victim. The ally catches her eye from across the assembly and mouths one single word. A stop, a warning, a plea, a spark. Tension spikes straight through the crowd. She steps back, breath tight. The bully leans close, lining up his final insult for the waiting phones. And the worst moment was about to be recorded forever. The auditorium doors slam open so hard the sound echoes through the rafters. A voice shouts her name from the hallway, sharp and urgent, and the entire room jolts. The principal's phone buzzes at the same moment, a teacher rushing toward him with wide eyes and a whisper that shakes even his calm posture. "You need to see this," the teacher says, shoving the phone forward. Confusion sweeps through the room as a student near the front fumbles with the projector cable, his hands trembling. A screen lights up with a sudden flash that steals every attention in the room. Students twist in their seats, heads turn, silence thickens. A video begins to play, clear, unedited, undeniable. The bully's hands appear on the screen first, grabbing the sleeve and tearing the teacher's shirt with full force. Gasps explode through the room. Another clip follows immediately, showing the older teacher laughing, nodding with quiet approval, each frame cutting deeper than the last. Then whispered orders echo through the speakers, recorded clearly. "Do it." She won't say anything. Faces drain pale, the bully's jaw drops. His friends shift away from him like he carries something toxic. The older teacher rises to argue, to deny, but the audio repeats again, loud and clear, drowning his defense before it begins. The principal stares at the screen, face tight with disbelief, anger, and something like betrayal. Students press hands to their mouths, phones lower, whispers collapse into stunned silence. Proof spills across the screen, drowning every rumor, every lie. The bully stumbles backward as if the truth itself hits him. The ally stands still, breathing hard, knowing this moment has been waiting to break open for too long, and everything they'd hidden was on screen. "It's not what it looks like," the bully shouts, voice cracking hard enough to shake the front row, but no one believes him now. His friends step back fast, no longer willing to stand beside him. The older teacher tries to speak, tries to steady the room, but students shout over him for the first time, refusing to let him rewrite what they saw. "You lied to all of us," someone yells, loud enough to ignite the crowd. A wave of murmurs grows into a roar as students point, accuse, question the adults who let it happen. The ally exhales sharply, a small victory settling in his chest as truth finally lands where it always should have. The principal steps forward slowly, eyes hard, ready to make a decision that will echo through the school. The room leans toward him, breath held tight, and the moment that would change the school arrived. The principal turns to the bully first, voice cold and sharp enough to slice through the leftover noise, and everyone feels the crash coming before he even speaks. The bully tries to argue, tries to hide behind his old confidence, but every word sounds weaker than the last. Eyes avoid him. Friends drift away. Security is called, and students gasp as he's escorted out of the room, no longer a ruler of anything. No one dares defend him now. The older teacher is pulled aside next. The principal's whisper, cutting deep, sharp enough that staff members step away in shame. She stands shaking near the front, unsure if she should stay or run, but the crowd shifts toward her instead of away. A few students approach carefully, guilt in their eyes, and one manages a soft. Parents gather at the doorway, demanding answers with voices that rise fast, and the principal promises an investigation with urgency he never showed before. Support circles her slowly, but gaps still remain, and some questions stayed unpaid. At lunch, whispers turn into apologies as students gather around her desk, not to stare this time but to stand beside her. Someone starts a petition titled, "Protect New Teachers," and signatures fill lines faster than anyone expects. A girl who rarely speaks murmurs, "We should have helped her," eyes wet as others nod with heavy guilt. The quiet alley gathers a few brave kids at a table, planning a student-led meeting after school, their voices small but steady. Rumors about the bully collapse, replaced by the truth rolling through hallways like a different kind of echo. His old power crumbles, piece by piece, as students step away from his shadow. More kids join the ally, shy at first, then stronger as they talk about what needs to change. Teachers watch from a distance, surprised to see courage rising where silence used to live. The group prepares a statement for the principal, hands shaking but determined to say what adults wouldn't, and change would take more than words. She returns to class slowly, expecting stares and whispers, expecting judgment, but finds rows of students sitting up straight, eyes filled not with fear or mockery but respect. A student stands when she enters, then another. Then the whole class rises as if offering something she thought she'd lost. She sets firmer rules now, not with anger but with a quiet authority that fills the room in a way it couldn't before. The class listens without a sound. The quiet alley sits in the front row, shoulders lighter, gaze steady, finally able to breathe without the weight of secrecy. The principal announces a school-wide apology for what happened, promising the entire staff will face new standards. The assembly is set for Friday, and students prepare to stand with her. She rehearses her words alone, promising herself she won't break this time, not after everything that's been exposed. On the day of the apology, the gym fills again, but with a different kind of energy, one that feels ready to shift everything forward. She steps to the mic steady and calm, and the next lesson would be about more than math. She looks at the class, seeing fear gone and courage finally building in the space where silence used to live, and the room feels different in a way no one can ignore. She speaks softly about truth, each word landing heavy, showing how silence helped the wrong side grow stronger. Students lean in close, remembering every whisper they didn't stop, every moment they watched and stayed quiet. "Our courage doesn't roar," she says, voice steady, calm, strong. Sometimes it whispers first. Then it grows. The ally steps beside her, not for praise, but to stand where justice finally took root, and everyone sees what one voice can spark. Students lower their heads, carrying the weight of what they allowed, understanding now how quickly cruelty spreads when no one challenges it. The principal adds his own words, promising change, promising action, and this time no one doubts him. Posters rise on the walls. Speak up, stand up, tell the truth. Training begins for everyone. The school shifts. The lesson settles deep, and who else would find their voice next? A new reporting system rolls out, anonymous and student-led, giving kids a way to speak without fear. Staff attend real training, the kind that doesn't hide blame behind excuses, and teachers exchange uneasy looks as the rules tighten around accountability. She thanks the class slowly, saying bravery grows when someone chooses to start it, and pride warms the room. The alley receives the loudest applause, not for fighting, but for speaking when silence felt safer. Months later at roll call, she reads names without tension in the air. No whispers, no jeers, just steady attention. A student raises a hand and says, "If something's wrong, we speak up now," and heads around the room nod. She smiles for real this time, the kind that comes after surviving a storm. The final line echoes through the school like a promise. They ripped her shirt, but the whole school ripped its silence apart.